Welcome everyone and good evening. Welcome to tonight's E2E reception focused on building back better, and I couldn't think of a more appropriate day to do this. We've had the spending review. I know that Lord Bilimoria has been very busy with all of that today, so welcome to our leaders reception. I would like to thank our guests of honour. They're two extraordinary gentlemen. Hopefully you've met them several times before. They have made a significant contribution to the UK, and they continue to make a significant contribution to the UK. They're Lord Leigh. Lord Leigh's wearing the blue shirt and the jacket, and Lord Bilimoria. So it's Lord Leigh of Hurley and Lord Bilimoria of Chelsea. I'd also like to thank our international workplace partner, IWG PLC, and in particular Richard Morris, the Chief Executive for the UK, for making the, and to you all, because everyone I think at the moment is super busy coming up to Christmas, and so thank you for taking the time to join us. So tonight is going to be a chance to look back over 2020 and also to look forward, with the two guests being distinguished parliamentarians as well as exceptional entrepreneurs. We're going to be looking at the political landscape as we exit lockdown. We're going to be looking at how we take our last steps into Brexit and discuss the support that we've had during the pandemic. So specifically, the sorts of topics that I'm hoping we'll cover is really, what does the vaccine mean for UK business? How do we reduce risks and the future shocks? So how can business bounce back in 2021? What lessons have we learned from the pandemic? And has the world of business changed permanently? And if so, how? So those are the sorts of general areas, Lord Bilimoria and Lord Leigh, that we thought would be quite good to cover tonight. They're both at the forefront of many of these discussions in Parliament. As business owners themselves, they've been working to ensure that entrepreneurs are not only protected during the pandemic, but empowered to secure our economic recovery. And it is SMEs, I think you'll all agree, we have roughly, I think 200 people, 250 people registered for this evening. It's us, it's founders that drive the economy. They understand, Lord Bilimoria, Lord Leigh both understand that today's small businesses are tomorrow's biggest employers, and they have been championing the cause of SMEs in Parliament long before the pandemic. But first, the good news. The good news is the vaccine looks like it's coming. This, of course, includes many, many caveats. It won't be immediate and it won't be accessible to everyone, but it is coming. And I know that in a tough year like this one that we've had, the prospect of returning to some normality due to the vaccine, however distant it is, has, at least for my team, lifted our spirits. So more importantly, the vaccine presents a chance for entrepreneurs to bounce back in 2021, something that can help the UK PLC get back on its feet, get leading once again, and creating the most exciting companies in the world, which is what we are so good at as a country. So in terms of the format for tonight, I'm going to introduce you in just a few minutes to Richard Morris, and he's going to talk about our partnership between IWG and E2E. I will then hand over to Lord Leigh, and after Lord Leigh, I'll ask Lord Bilimoria to talk about his views. So we'd really like the evening, I know it's on Zoom and I know it's like this, but we'd like it to be interactive. So what's going to happen is, after they've both spoken, we're going to have roughly 40-45 minutes to have an interactive Q&A. So start thinking about your questions as they're talking. And then if you could use the chat function, there's a little raise your hand in the chat function, or use the Q&A, put your question there, and then Stephen, our CTO, he will make the camera live, should you wish to be live, and he'll make it live so that you can be ready with your questions. So you may have views on today's spending review, maybe about the vaccine, so let's make it interactive for 40 minutes or so. So for those of you who are new, I think we have people on the call today from 35 different countries from around the world. Just to tell you a little bit about E2E. E2E it stands for Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur Exchange. It's all about enabling extraordinary entrepreneurship. I hope most of you know that we do much more than events. we are like an offline, soon to be online version of Match.com for business. That's the dating site, but for business, helping businesses find the right investors, the right talent, and the right technology. So if you're a business that needs investment, you need technology, you need human capital, and you need access to corporates like IWG, we'd love to hear from you. Like Lord Bilimoria and Lord Leigh, I've been working very closely, as many of you know, with both of them and with government to ensure that entrepreneurs get the support that they need during this difficult time. I've been working particularly in the Business Action Council, and the CBI, and Lord Bilimoria has been very, very actively involved in that. It's been headed up by Maurice Ostro OBE to promote basically business policies within BEIS and with Number 10. And what we're doing together is designing policy amendments to protect jobs, to reskill workers, and to keep business trading. Our three biggest successes have been so far implementing the furlough scheme in terms of flexible furlough scheme. Recently, the Chancellor talked about the short-time working directive. That was a paper that Lord Bilimoria and I worked on together, and extending the furlough scheme, all recommendations that were led by the employee retention subgroup that I chair. Lord Bilimoria, Lord Leigh, and I also got together earlier in April. We put together a paper putting a series of recommendations to the Chancellor, and I'm pleased that one of the things that resulted from it was the bounce back loan, also the increase in R&D tax credits in terms of the rate that we get our responses. So it's been really a means of supporting entrepreneurs through the pandemic. And E2E's membership, we're keeping it, because it's difficult times, we're keeping it complimentary. Soon we're going to be launching our digital platform, and as many of you know, when we launch our digital platform, we'll be introducing a paid membership. So we'll keep the complimentary, the paid membership will be at £25 a month. And essentially what this is all about is using technology and using our services to unleash the power of our E2E community to support the businesses within our network. So we've got 23,000 members at the moment. They contribute £213 billion to the UK economy. They employ 1.15 million people. We want to expand that, and we really want to make sure, despite the negativity that's around at the moment, it's us that makes change, and we want to have a big part to play in that. And I couldn't really do it without the three gentlemen who are supporting tonight. Lord Bilimoria, he helped me to start E2E in 2011. He was founding board director. Lord Leigh, Cavendish Corporate Finance, his firm, was the first firm to partner, corporate finance firm to partner with us. So I thank you both for that. And IWG have been our biggest partner for the last 4 years. So thank you, Richard, for that. So I'm going to hand over to Richard Morris, who's going to talk about the partnership, and then it'll be my pleasure to introduce Lord Leigh. So Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Shalini. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. As Shalini said, we're very proud of our partnership with E2E. I work for an organization called International Workplace Group, and I was just going to take a few short minutes to tell you a little bit about what we do for our customers and how we support businesses of all different shapes and size. And then I'll also say a little bit about what benefits we provide through our partnership to E2E members. So in simple terms, International Workplace Group, what we do is offer a network of on-demand workspace. Now, there was this sort of gradual shift happening anyway over the last 5 years, driven by technology, for people to work in a different way, people to work more agile and more mobile. But I certainly think in the last 9 months, we would all agree that there have been some profound changes in the way that people work. And what we do for businesses is enable them to consume and use workspace as a service. And that means pay as you go, on demand, the opportunity across all of our network of 3,500 high quality, conveniently located workplaces that span the world. We're in 120 countries, in 1,100 cities, and every single one of those 3,500 locations can be accessed through a smartphone. So the idea is that businesses of all sizes, whether they're freelancers, entrepreneurs, Fortune 500 businesses can use this network of on-demand workspace. Our locations are of different brands. In the UK here, where we have around 400 locations, we use brands including Spaces, BasePoint, Regus, Signature, but they all form the same network. They can be accessed, as I say, using our smartphone app. If you download that from the Apple Store or the Google Store, you can pay by the hour, by the week, or however long you need space. The idea is that you take space where you need it, when you need it, however long you need it for. And I guess the thing that we're all grappling with now is that we don't think the office is dead, but we certainly think office buildings will get used very, very differently in the future. And you can see some interesting trends in our network across the UK. For example, over the last 9 months, the number of memberships that we've sold in the suburbs, these are opportunities for people to work nearer to home rather than from home. Our sales of that kind of product have increased by 400%, really to reflect the fact that working from home all of the time isn't for everybody for sure, but we do believe that more people will want to work nearer to home and spend less time in a corporate head office in a big city, although those locations will still serve a purpose. So I think that the key thing here is about providing workspace in a more relevant way to businesses for the future. That's what IWG does through our network and through our different brands. And part of our partnership with E2E means that members of E2E can access some great special offers. So first of all, in recognition of this really strange time that we've been through and will continue working through over the coming months, we're making available for free all of our business lounges. Each one of our locations has a business lounge. This is where people can just touch down for a few hours, get some quiet time, get some work done. All of those business lounges, which you can find on the smartphone app, are free to use to E2E members in the UK. That includes airport lounges, train stations. We have some in shopping malls as well, including the business centres near to your home. We're also offering 10% discount on day hire products, meeting rooms, private day offices. Again, very easy to book, just as if you were booking a hotel room, 10% off to E2E members. And then finally, if you want to buy any of our products, a private office or a co-working membership product, for example, we provide the first 3 months completely free, as long as you sign for a minimum of 6 months term on one of those products. We're providing that very special offer to E2E members. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the event. I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting. And I'll hand over now back to Shalini. Thank you.
Richard, thank you very much. And it's a very different time, so it's wonderful to have the flexi offer and the packages. I know a lot of our members are really, really enjoying that. So thank you very much. And looking forward to continuing our partnership for the next 2-3 events at least next year. So thank you very much, Richard. I'm going to now have the huge pleasure of introducing Lord Leigh. I mentioned Lord Leigh of Hurley. He's the co-founder and he's the senior partner of Cavendish Corporate Finance. He qualified as a chartered accountant with Deloitte Haskins and Sells, and then established Deloitte's Mergers and Acquisitions Group and developed an expertise. He there developed his expertise in company selling and company sales. In May 1988, he left Deloitte to set up Cavendish Corporate Finance, and he's currently the senior partner at Cavendish. Cavendish is the UK's leading specialist sell-side advisor to owners and of mid-market businesses. They have acted for over 500 transactions. In December 2018, Cavendish merged with FinCap, and the new group was formed, which is FinCap Group PLC, that was listed on the London AIM market. In September 2013, Howard was elevated to peerage as a Lord, He is a man who goes out of his way, and I genuinely mean this, he goes out of his way to support SMEs, especially where he feels there's a need to influence government and influence policy. I know that a lot of our members, when they have a difficult issue and we don't know how to deal with it, Howard usually has a way around it. And Howard, I need to thank you for that because you have supported so many of our community. I'm also very proud that having known him for just over 10 years now, nearly 10 years, he's become a friend. When I started E2E, as I mentioned earlier, Lord Leigh partnered with E2E. He gave me that chance that I needed and backed us as a corporate finance boutique. So we couldn't have done it without you, Howard. And today it's such a pleasure working with you. And I'm pleased about the things that we're doing together. So thank you hugely for speaking for us again. It's nearly a year since you spoke at the Carlton Club, which was last October. So it's brilliant to have you back in an online way today, Howard. So
Thank you,
Leigh. Yeah.
Thank you, Shalini. Just in the middle of that, my internet collapsed, so I've switched to a BlackBerry, which I hope is going to be okay. So yeah. I missed those wonderful words, which I'm sure were all very positive. We'll take it.
I'll send you the recording.
Very you, and thank you for asking me to address this fantastic group of entrepreneurs, SME entrepreneurs. Thank you also again, IWG, for sponsoring. You do a great service to SME community and to E2E for making it happen. As described, my story is like many of you on this call. I was gainfully employed, happily salaried, looking forward to all the perks that one gets working for someone else. And then one day was inspired and motivated to get on my bike and do it myself. And 32 years ago, I decided to start Cavendish Corporate Finance with one partner and one assistant. And thankfully it grew. So I've been through some of the pains and pleasures that many of you have. And I know I've got many friends on this call. When you start up, the challenges that you never knew existed when you were comfortably employed by somebody else. So having the pleasure of, in those days, a photocopying salesman selling this ridiculous contract that it takes you 5 years to get out of, and understanding what it's like to actually employ your own employee, it's all good. And of course, the SME community is exceptionally important to the UK. There are some 6 million SME companies, and they are about 99.5% of the total companies around. But they more importantly employ 60% of the workforce of some 16 million people. And amazingly enough, 51% of all turnover in the UK comes from SME businesses. So we are important. Our success is important. Government recognises that to a point. There are some very helpful startup loans. There's Innovate UK. They have the EIS, SEIS, VCT tax breaks. And so government, to a point, is helpful and recognises it. They listen to SMEs. The aforementioned Maurice Ostro has started a business advisory council, on which I know Lord Bilimoria sits. And the SME community is well represented in this business advisory council, which is a great thing. So there is dialogue. So that's the good news. The less good news is, frankly, how government has treated directors of small companies who have chosen to take their remuneration through dividends in recent times, who have fallen through the cracks, and that needs to be addressed. I'm aware that it's difficult to stamp out fraud in such circumstances, but nonetheless, there are many entrepreneurs who operate through a limited company who have suffered badly in the last 6 months. And of course, it was very disappointing to first see the entrepreneurs relief replaced by the ghastly named business asset taper relief, and then talk in the press of capital gains tax being equalized with income tax. I'm sure there'll be questions and comments afterwards about that, but this is a very, very negative, if it happens, a very, very negative move for the SME community. It's a major discouragement. The government needs to understand the difference between capital and income. It needs to understand that people who sit in a job and take an income take no risk. Whereas if you and I, when we started our business and we put money in, that money could have been lost and we expect a different return for that risk. We expect to be taxed on our salary we take out the business as income, but the capital that we make it should be taxed at a rate that reflects the risk and reflects the fact we could lose it and not set off the loss against our income. So more on that, I'm sure, to follow. But I spent my life advising people on growing businesses and exiting. And so Shalini asked us to come up with some reflections on where we go from here. Or have friends who are thinking about it, I would say and encourage you to have a go now, better the time. In today's they announced 56.5 million is going to go. The British Business Bank is out there putting more money out there. So this is a really good time, and many people will have spent the last 6 months thinking about what they want to do in their life. And it's not just about making as much money as possible. It's about having the freedom to do what you want to do, to express yourself through your work. Work is the most important, well, certainly the most time-consuming part of your life. It defines you in so many ways. So this is a time for people to determine what they want to do and make the big leap. And you, many of you, if not all of you, I don't know, but talks about the economy growing by 5.5% next year. And there will be a rebound. I think the rebound will be partly because of the vaccines. It'll be partly because of the trade agreements, which are now coming in left, right, and center, despite predictions to the contrary from others, but they are. And this is both a very opportunistic time, but it's a very dangerous time. Most businesses go bust, not going into a recession, but actually coming out of a recession, particularly SME entrepreneurial businesses, because they react to the opportunity and in a nutshell, go for it. And that's where you see overtrading. And overtrading is the most dangerous part of a business cycle, where people take on business, go for the business, and bluntly, essentially, run out of cash. So the key thing at this point of the cycle, when you know the business is probably going to take off, is make sure you're properly capitalized, make sure you've got access to proper working capital, and think hard about not over trading. Third point, it's not enough just to get through this. This is a time to take a chance and grow, bearing in mind what I've said, but nonetheless, it's a time to think about research and development. Again, the government's announced £14.6 billion is going to be available for research and development. Shouldn't you have some of that? This is the time to grow, maybe by acquisitions. There'll be other people out there who are not as successful as you, who would welcome an approach by you. This is the time when you might make that killer move that grows your business. And it's certainly a time when finance is available. There is apparently $1.5 trillion in dry money and private equity looking for home. And debt has never been as cheap as it is now, nor as available. In the old days, there were only 4 banks that lent money to businesses, 3 of whom always said no, and 1 have said maybe. That's all gone. There are hundreds of sources of finance out there. So this next 6 months could be the opportunity to take advantage of business opportunities. Fourth, for many people on this call, this is a new experience coming out of a recession. So I would say surround yourself with a bit of experience. Take on as an advisor or consultant or non-exec or friend, someone who's been through it before and can hold your hand. This is a time when experience is needed as much as anything else. And fifth, there will be some amazing opportunities and you want to be in a position to take advantage of them. For example, the EU trade treaty or free trade agreement will be very exciting. That won't be new and original because it's essentially put us back to where we were. But what is going to be new and original is the US trade treaty. And not many businesses have focused on the incredible opportunities that may present for them to be able to do business help to get rid of regulations. There is a criticism of big business that big business likes regulation because it keeps small business out. So it's important that we shatter that myth and we all work hard to get rid of as many regulations that were imposed upon us before Brexit that are not appropriate or necessary, and turn forward to what we can do with both the US trade treaties and other trade treaties. As you know, we've recently signed Korea, Japan, Canada, and others will follow, which present tremendous opportunity. So I'm looking very much forward to the Q&A, and thank you again for asking me to address you.
Howard, thank you very much. Some hugely inspirational pieces of advice there, and very, very practical pieces of advice there. So I really appreciate it. And I think we'll get more into the detail. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. And I'll just remind everybody who's on the webinar that please put up your hand on the chat function ready with your questions. So when Lord Bilimoria has spoken, we're going to run a small poll and then go straight into the Q&A. So Lord Bilimoria, it's my huge pleasure to welcome you and introduce you. So it's Lord Bilimoria, CBE, DL, FCA. As many of you know, a British Indian entrepreneur. He's the founder and chairman of the global beer brand, which we all love, Cobra Beer. I would normally ask everyone in the House of Lords or wherever we were doing our events, Lord Bilimoria, to put up their hand, and I know that so many of them say yes, they love the beer. Lord Bilimoria has evolved it into a joint venture with Molson Coors. He's also the chairman of Molson Coors Cobra India. Lord Bilimoria of Chelsea is a life peer in the House of Lords. He was elected also as the president of the Confederation of Business and Industry, the CBI, as we know it and love it, in June this year. So huge congratulations once again for that role, Lord Bilimoria. Before his appointment this year as a peer, he has been one of the most recognized people in the world, especially in India. He's the Saurashtrian Parsi representative of the House of Lords. He's the first Saurashtrian Parsi representative there. So Baron Bilimoria received the highest honor in India, which is bestowed to Indians, which hopefully you've all heard about. It's bestowed to Indians outside of India. It is usually given and granted by the head of state. It's called a Pravarsi Paritya Saman. So I'm going to ask people to remember that and look it up, because it is the accolade to get in India. As you probably know, Lord Bilimoria serves on a significant number of advisory boards. He is including Birmingham Business School, Seven Hills, Cambridge Judge Business School. Lord Bilimoria is the founding chairman of the UK-India Business Council. He's a former senior non-executive director of the Booker Group, which is now Tesco PLC. He was also the youngest, I didn't know he was the youngest, Lord Bilimoria, the youngest university chancellor to be appointed in the UK. He is the chancellor of Birmingham University. Lord Bilimoria is a chartered accountant as well, like Lord Leigh. By training, he graduated in law from the University of Cambridge. Now, I've just touched on, if you go to his website, you will see there are so many things. His bio is this long. I have just taken a few of the highlights. So I'm literally scratching the surface. I'm very proud that he helped me to start E2E. He has become a very good friend over the years, not just of mine, but also of my family. And it's a huge pleasure working with you, Lord Bilimoria. So I'm going to ask you to say a few words. And thank you again for all the support you've given us for nearly 10 years now.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and thank you for all that you do for all of us and E2E. I can't believe it's going to be 10 years old soon. So yeah. It'd be great to celebrate a decade, and great for me also to follow my dear friend, Howard Leigh, who I've known for many, many years. And we've worked together, we are friends, and now we're colleagues in Parliament together. And it's such a joy for me to have that privilege. So Howard, thank you for everything that you've said. I will hopefully try and not to repeat it, but to reinforce it. So what a day that we have chosen to hold this, Shalini, with the comprehensive spending review that's just been announced. And my gosh, I mean, we were worried that it might be a 10% drop in GDP this year. Well, it's worse. It's 11.3%. I mean, that is the worst drop in GDP in 300 years. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, just put in context, the Bank of England was founded in 1694. We have the lowest rate of interest rates in the history of the Bank of England at 0.1%. Borrowing is forecast to be nearly 400 billion pounds, which is 20% of GDP. We've crossed, government borrowing is now more than 100, public debt rather, is more than 100% of GDP. Now, in the past, it's been higher, and that's been during wars. After the Second World War, debt to GDP actually went up to 250% at the end of the war, 1945. It took until 1963 to get it down to just over 100%, which is where we are now. So these are serious, serious figures. The long-term scarring that we're all worried about, it's worrying when it comes to unemployment, when it comes to youth unemployment. The government has already spent 280 billion pounds on saving jobs, saving businesses over the last 9 months during this crisis. And in the CSR, one of the key priorities for Chancellor was to try and create jobs, and especially youth jobs, much like the New Deal. And I was on the New Deal task force, the National Employment Panel. Maurice Oster was on the SME panel with me, I remember. And I've seen 20 years ago how important it is to get people from welfare to work. But I've also seen the scarring of long-term unemployment. When I remember on field visits, I've gone to areas in this country where you meet people where 3 generations in a family have never worked and are just completely reliant on the state. We cannot let that happen. And of course, the Chancellor talks about protecting lives and livelihoods. Well, you've got to give credit where it's due. And we say the government's flip-flopped or the government's U-turn. Well, I give credit to the government that they've listened. And every time Rishi Sunak, to his credit, come up with initiatives very quickly, fleet of foot, proactively, reactively, but most importantly, listening. And the CBI, I can assure you, we've been working very, very closely with the government. And we are the biggest of the business organizations. We speak for 190,000 companies, businesses, employing 7 million people. That's 1/3 of the private sector workforce. We've got virtually all the major trade associations, from the National Farmers Union to the Law Society to UK Hospitality to the Retail Association. They're all members of CBI. So we really do speak for business. And I'm grateful for all the government help that's been given, whether it's a furlough scheme, whether it's the 100% loan guarantee scheme, the bounce back loans that have been given to 1.2 million businesses, saved thousands of jobs, thousands of businesses, whether it's reducing the VAT from 20% to 5%. So all that's been great. The public services, they're now going to create a national infrastructure bank. And I think investing in our infrastructure is so important for the productivity of these companies. We've got aging infrastructure. That's going to create jobs as well. And this government's cliched term, which I hate the term, but it's a real term, leveling up. I mean, you've got to spread the prosperity. Most people don't realize that the UK is a magnet for inward investment. We are, in any one year, the 2nd or 3rd largest recipient of inward investment in the world. And one of the reasons for that is we're an open economy. Another reason for that is we've got fantastic things to offer anyone investing in the UK, whether it's the City of London, whether it's our fantastic universities and the research that we do. We've got that all. But a lot of it is focused in London and the Southeast and needs to be spread around the region. And so all this capital spending, infrastructure spending is fantastic. The growth, by the way, the bounce back. Now, how quickly, to answer Shalini's question, how quickly can we bounce back next year? I mean, the government is forecasting we get back to 5.5% growth next year and 6.6% the year after that, having dropped 11.3% this year. And before that, our growth was pretty small, tiny growth, but we were growing as an economy. And I completely agree with Howard that we cannot have tax increases. All this talk about how we're going to pay for it, now is not the time to talk about this. Now is the time to actually incentivize investment in business. Now is the time to give the catalysm to business to grow, which means, in fact, reducing taxes, which means giving that freedom for businesses to grow, not stifling that growth by increasing taxes. That's not going to work. If you increase CGT, that's going to harm people investing. If you increase corporation tax, again, that harms inward investment as well as stifling businesses. So tax rises are for another time if necessary. The best way to pay for all that we've spent, the best way is to generate growth. By generating growth, you generate employment. By generating employment, you generate taxes. By generating taxes, that pays for the public services and pays down the debt. That's what we've got to focus on. And austerity as well. Cuts at a time like this. We've seen austerity after the financial crisis. It's very, very tough, and we've got to avoid that. The Prime Minister wants to avoid it. How are we going to get this bridge through to coming out in that tunnel and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel? I can see that light. I can see that light right now talking to you. And that light is going to be around April next year. So how do we get through these horrible winter, bleak winter months over the next 4 months? And one of the ways we're going to get through it, of course, is we're going to get these vaccines. And the great news of the vaccine, yes, Pfizer, yes, Moderna, but the big one, the vaccine for the world, is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. And that is, to me, a shining example of what this country is capable of. Oxford, one of the best universities in the world at any one time. In fact, it's ranked #1 university in the world as we speak. Their brilliant Jenner Institute, where vaccines were originally, Jenner was the founder of vaccines. That institute has been amazing, working with AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca, a Swedish-British company, headquartered where? And I was on a seminar with them today, and I've been in touch with their UK CEO, Sir Mene Pangalos. Where are they based? In Cambridge. So there they are in the Cambridge cluster, this phenomenal cluster with the business and universities, feeding off each other, creating ARM and Acorn computers, and now AstraZeneca, one of the leading pharmaceutical companies in the world, right there next to Cambridge, working with Cambridge. I've spoken at their premises. They come and work at the business school at Cambridge, which I've had the privilege of chairing for 5 years. And so they've come, and then where? Wait for this, the vaccine for the world. Who is the partner of Oxford AstraZeneca? The Serum Institute of India, my fellow Zoroastrian Parsi, Cyrus and Adar Poonawalla, the biggest vaccine manufacturers in the world. And they will be able to produce this vaccine at such a low cost that they will be able to get around the world so that the poorest people in the most developing countries will have access to this vaccine. The other thing that's going to get us through to the other side is rapid mass antigen lateral flow affordable tests. This is something I've been banging on about for 4 months. They're a reality now. And in fact, they're just approving UK companies, SMEs, who are going to be manufacturing these tests in the millions at a cost as low as £2 to £3. I'm saying that the government should be handing these tests out to everyone in the country so that people can test themselves regularly. If you're tested positive, go and get a confirmatory PCR test to confirm you're positive and you isolate. If you're negative, you carry on with life as normal. Factories, schools, colleges, universities, airports, sporting events, life can get on until the vaccines are inoculated over the January, February, March, April onwards. These two things, and therapeutics, by the way, we're getting more and more therapeutics that are being repurposed. So there we are. I think we'll get to the other side with the government help, and there's three gloves: therapeutics, vaccines, mass testing. So finally, avoid unemployment and bounce back. If we can save those jobs, save the businesses, get to the other side. Why do I say we can do it? And this is my conclusion before we go to Q&A. The best way to predict the future is to look at the past. And we had that window after 3.5 months of lockdown from the 23rd of March to Independence Day, the 4th of July, when we were allowed to open up. And we opened up. And in those few months, July, August, September, look how well and quickly businesses bounce back. And that's with the 1 meter social distancing. And that's with the pandemic still on. And that's with the uncertainty still there. And we showed we could bounce back. Just imagine how we can bounce back next spring when we can see the pandemic is abating and we're through it. We will bounce back, and we will bounce back stronger and more resilient as companies, as businesses, and as entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Lord Bilimoria, thank you. We needed that energy and positivity today, and I couldn't agree with you more around the difficulties that we have currently. But you're absolutely right that if the vaccine is there, if these initiatives take place, there's no reason why we won't bounce back much stronger. I think there's people will be going on holiday like they've never before for example, because we have been stopped from taking so much holiday for such a long time. So hopefully the travel and tourism sector and all of the supply chain that goes with it will bounce back much, much stronger. I know we've got a significant number of questions coming through. I'm going to ask Stephen, our CTO, that we're going to do a quick poll. Howard, thank you for coming back on. And then after that, we will, after the poll, we're going to go straight into Q&A. When we start Q&A, we're going to start with Robert Kilgour, followed by Rachel Putnick, Ronald Lehman, Sheetal Walsh, Dinesh Dameja, Jayesh, and anyone else who is putting your hand up on the chat function. I know we have today quite a lot of people from different sectors. We've got Karen Blackett, OBE from WPP. We've got Joe Malone. I love the brand, Joe. It's great to have you on. So whoever would like to ask questions, so we'll kick off with a poll. Right, so quick fire questions. These are multiple choice questions, the majority, and some are you have to just pick one, but with these you can pick as many as you like. I'm interested in E2E because the events are informative and educational. I make valuable, high quality connections. I make use of the membership benefits or none of the above. Number two, which of the services listed below would you need the most? There's again multiple choice. Business services such as access to our part accountants, lawyers, consultants, receiving flexi mentoring, finding a non-exec director, meeting like-minded people, fundraising, offering your services to our members, or none of the above. Thirdly, which of the following services would benefit you? Real-time private market data, sales intelligence software, digital marketing support, web hosting, customer relationship management software, startup and SME intelligence data, reducing your software overheads, cybersecurity, wealth management, or none of the above. And you can pick more than one. What are your key challenges in terms of digital marketing? You don't have a skilled team, you don't have the budget, don't have a structured approach. I don't know how to leverage digital marketing and IT effectively, or all of the above. Are you interested in practical and structural digital marketing training? Yes or no, or maybe. Number 6, would you benefit from discounted access to the physical or virtual office packages, meeting rooms and business lounge access that Richard spoke about? If you say yes, we will make an introduction. If you say no, we won't. Number 7, are you interested in discounted membership to the CBI? We have a partnership, as I mentioned, to the CBI, and at the moment they are offering our members free membership for 6 months, and then it will evolve into the paid membership. So if you're interested to know more about that, please tick yes or no. Number 8, do you think you will be able to attend a physical event later this year, Q1 next year, or later than Q1 next year? Finally, there's 2 more questions. Are you prepared for Brexit? Is your business prepared for Brexit? Yes or no? And then, are you prepared for a possible no-deal Brexit? So we'll leave that running in the background for you to have a look at the questions and to respond. And I'm going to ask Stephen if we can go straight into the Q&A right now. And I think Robert is an advisory board director of E2E. Robert, would you like to kick off with your question first? I think it might just take a second to get Robert on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Robert, thank you. We can see you, and we like the glasses.
Well, yeah, and I'm dressed up tonight because
you are.
On the other screen is the National Care Awards, and some of my people are up for awards. In fact, I'm up for an award, and I was judging an award, Care Home of the Year, for it too. So I'm as long as nobody tells my wife, I'm multitasking at the moment. So, but I'm a CBI, a proud CBI member, have been for many years. And I thought Howard's comments too, particularly, were really good about that. Yes, he's correct. More companies go bust in the recovery than the recession. And also the need to add for younger companies who've not been through this before to add experienced non-exec directors is absolutely key. But as Howard also said, the growth is key for paying for all this. and that the engine for growth for the British economy is the SME and entrepreneurial sector. And so the recovery is going to come from that. And that I worry that the government don't seem to understand this. And if the risk reward ratio is not right through the tax system and they get it wrong, then it'll be disastrous for growth and disastrous for the UK economy. And I'd ask both Lord Bilimoria and Howard, how do we at E2E get the message to the government of the importance of SMEs and entrepreneurs and the importance of the tax regime being correct?
Thank you. Howard, do you want to answer that one first? You're on mute. Great.
Yes, I do. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you again. I know Robert well, which is why it's Lord Bilimoria and Howard.
Howard, you need to speak up a bit.
But you raise a very important point, because yes, government will respond to pressure. Yes, government does need your input. And yes, there is something you can do about it. You can, for example, write to your local MP and say that the increase in CGT will threaten your business. It might make you go offshore, and it would certainly not have encouraged you to start the business that you're starting now if you thought that the capital gains would be the same as income tax. You can copy that letter and indeed write directly to Rishi Sunak. You may think it's a waste of time. I promise you it's not. They do look at and respond to these. I'm hoping Shalini might organize a group letter from all the entrepreneurs and members of E2E. We've got 25,000 people. It would be perfect. But it makes, and talk to friends, talk to people you know, make it clear that you feel strongly about this issue and your experience is such that it matters. The Chancellor, unfortunately, is surrounded by civil servants who have never been entrepreneurs, and in some instances by investment bankers who likewise haven't started their own business. He is open. He is by instinct a low tax chancellor, but he needs to understand the strengths of feeling from our community. So you really can make a difference, and I'm doing as much as I possibly can. You can make a difference. Please do join me in making your voice heard.
Robert, would you like to ask Karan the same question, or are you happy with
Yeah,
that?
no, I would, because I was also in 2000 to 2003, I was on the CBI Scotland Council, and I was also on the CBI SME UK Council for 3 years, 2000 to 2003. A lot of people don't really fully appreciate or understand that there are a lot of SMEs that are members of the CBI, and I would, and in fact, Shalini, you organised an event recently where the chairman of the UK SME Council from the Northeast, I've forgotten the lady's name, was on the call. We do need to gather our forces, as Howard says, and lobby hard, because if they come up with the wrong policy, then companies that have 10 employees that might increase to 15 will not only stay at 10, but will likely go down. And that's exactly what we don't need to happen. We have one shot at this to get it right, and we have to get it right.
Well, Robert, I'm so glad you said, and thanks for all your support for the CBI over the years. What I'd like to reinforce is that one of my 4 pillars of being my presidency of the CBI is I'm the first entrepreneur to be president. Normally, the president of the CBI is a FTSE 100 chair. And I want to make sure we change this image of the CBI as not just a big business. I mean, yes, of course, the vast majority of the FTSE 100 and FTSE 250 are members of CBI. But as I said, it's 190,000 businesses in every corner of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland that are members of the CBI, predominantly SMEs. And we've got to change this perception. The CBI is for all business, including the business, but especially SMEs.
Agreed.
Right. Well,
thank you.
Robert, wish you luck with getting that award tonight. So I hope that goes very well. And I think what Lord Bilimoria
Thank you.
and Lord Leigh said, I will put together a letter and see whether we can get some signatures on it in relation to CGT. Lord Leigh, you put me up for it now. So
That's an excellent idea, because, yeah, excellent, good idea.
yeah, thank you.
We seem to have lost Shalini. Is there anyone else who's asking a question now? Otherwise, would Maurice, if Maurice Austria is there, would he like to ask a question? You come live? No? Somebody has to allow that to happen.
I think we may have lost all the attendees, so we can carry on, just the two of us.
No, they're all there.
If you can ask a question, anybody, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to reinforce a little bit of what Karan Bilimoria just said. In fact, Cavendish has just joined the CBI on this fabulous 6-month deal. And Karan is the most dynamic and effective president the CBI has ever had. So it's up to us to support him and get behind him and be a voice of influence in the CBI.
So I'm back now. I'm sorry, I lost connection for a minute. Rachel is there. Rachel, would you like to ask your question?
Sure, and thank you, first of all, just thanks for inviting me. It's been a pleasure and really educational. And I'm kind of taking us, I realise that I'm taking us from the macro to the micro almost, because my focus is on the workforce and what learning needs are there now for leaders. So many of us have had to make people unemployed. We've been firefighting, and those who remain in the workforce, what do you think? What's your views of the learning needs out there for leaders right now?
Lord Bilimoria, do you want to take that?
Can you just clarify? You're saying the learning?
The learning needs regarding how leaders support their workforce.
Yeah.
After post-redundancies, post-restructuring, it's been such a tumultuous time, and I'm wondering what your views are of the learning needs there.
Absolutely. I think that what has come through in this pandemic very, very clearly is how do businesses and leaders treat their employees and treat their workforce. And it's the test of leadership is not in the good times, it's in times of adversity. And you cannot get a more adverse situation than we've been through and we're going through right now. It's horrendous. And the horrible, tough decisions leaders have to make. But people will remember how they have been treated at this time. Because when we're out the other side, people will remember. And if you are fair, and if you're decent, and if you're caring, and if you're compassionate, and if you're magnanimous, and you look after your workforce and their families and put them first and put people first, that's the way ahead. And everyone's watching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you for confirming that. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Ronald, would you like to say hi? How are you doing?
Hello, good evening. It's lovely to see you, Shalini. Karan, you always are the voice of great reason. I heard you on LBC earlier this afternoon, and you answered the questions with great aplomb. And Howard Leigh's the greatest encouragement to SME businesses. My question really is about employability. We're seeing today the forecast of youth unemployment to be 2.7 million. I mean, we have been talking about 4 million unemployed next year, so it may be less than originally thought. Should we be encouraging young people to start their own business right now if they can't get that dream job?
Howard, Lord Leigh, would you like to take that question? So should we be encouraging people to start their businesses right now if they can't get that dream job? You're on mute, Lord Leigh. Lord Bilimoria, do you want to start the answer, and then we'll move across to Lord Leigh in a second?
Yes. So, I mean, I can identify, thank you for your kind words for a start, Ronald, very kind of you. I could identify with this because I started my business when I was in my 20s in the midst of a recession 3 decades ago. And each recession is different. In that recession, I remember interest rates went up to 15%. So not only was it impossible to raise any money, when you did, it was so expensive. But it didn't stop me from starting my business because I had an idea and I was willing to take that plunge and give it a go. Now, and this is where I believe education is important, because and I always say to university students, don't drop out. Okay, you've got the Bill Gates of this world who dropped out and the Michael Dells who dropped out. Those are the exception. On the whole, see your education through, because then you've always got something to fall back on. You've got your education to fall back on, let alone the fantastic experience it is. But have a go at starting your own business. And now the support that there is, initiatives like E2E, the funding that exists, the crowdfunding, phenomenal support from the government as well, the guaranteed loans you can get. I think it's great. But of course, we've also got to make sure we can create those jobs as well, and the skilling for people as well, and lifelong skilling.
Yeah, I'd absolutely endorse that. There's another, I'm sorry I missed the last question, but leadership is key to everything, isn't it? And that's what we want to see, and that's what we need. And our current leader, Boris, said that, I think he was quoted as saying there's no such thing as a disaster, there's any opportunity. And some say there's two types of leadership. There's a separate type of leadership where you stand behind the flock and you gently nudge the ones at the back to go forward and the ones at the front go in advance on their own accord. Or there's the other type of more traditional leader where you advance from the front yourself. And this is the time when it's needed. So when the pandemic first started in my business, all the senior people took a pay cut. I went down to 0 pay, which I was then told was in breach of the minimum wage law. I was on which I actually voted against, but nonetheless I was put on the minimum wage. But anyway, and the people within the organisation knew that, respected it, and we stayed together because they saw leadership from the front. So it is tough, but that's what it's all about. If you're an entrepreneur and you start up your own business, you have to bring people with you. And the trick of any business success is that every employee thinks and believes that they own the business, and they feel it's their business, and they regard it as their own business. And if you can achieve that with your employees, there's nothing that can stop you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ronald, great to see you, and a very, very good question. So we need to encourage our youth to start their own companies if they're finding times difficult right now. And yeah, I would absolutely agree with what both Lord Bilimoria and Lord Leigh have said. There's no time like the present to do these things. We're going to move on in just 1 second to my friend Sheetal Walsh. I just want to prepare that it's Annette White, Jayesh, Dinesh Damija, Alpa, Chris Harding, Edmund Gemmell, and that's the lineup coming up. We've got 15 minutes left. So Sheetal, lovely to see you over from, she's in Canada.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shalini. Thank you, Lord Bilimoria and Howard, for all of the things you've done for the UK. I'm really, really happy that you've created this platform, Shalini, for many reasons. So I just wanted to comment very quickly and make a statement regarding the UK. I'm British and I'm Canadian, and I'm very grateful for the UK-Canada trade deal we've just put in place, as well as our corridor of innovation that we have together. So thank you for that. As a brand, as an innovative country, as a resilient group of entrepreneurs, we have something very special in the UK, which we don't see elsewhere. We're also very good at complaining. So as a person who's now left the UK, although my heart is there and I'm a citizen, I must say, when I look around at what's going on in the world, we have an exciting and wonderful platform in the UK with excellent thought leaders. But I just have one request and one sort of statement that I really think we should focus on going forward, especially during what's going on with the COVID and other issues taking place at the moment, which is that we as as British people are not very good at championing ourselves to the rest of the world. And we have an amazing brand. And I think we really need to step up and like the Americans, they're very good at this one thing for sure, is that they say they're rock stars. They say that they're the best. And I think we need to really bring up some case studies, and we need to be able to really shine and let the world see how great we are. And don't be shy to actually to focus on our pluses. Thank you.
So can I respond to that straight away? Actually, thank you. That is music to my ears. That's absolute music to my ears. I believe that this little country, 1% of the world's population, 6th largest economy in the world, we are phenomenal. I mean, we are, as I just said, 2nd, 3rd attractive inward investment, 2nd largest exporter of services in the world, top 2 financial center in the world, London, the best universities in the world, along with America. And which universities won more Nobel Prizes than any other? And I see my friend Dinesh Tamija, our university, Cambridge University, has won more Nobel Prizes, not Harvard or Princeton or MIT or Caltech, it's Cambridge. So we are brilliant, and our advanced manufacturing is fantastic. Our aerospace industry is fantastic. Our defense industry is fantastic. Our music, whether it's classical or rock, or you concerts and theaters and films, Oscars. Who wins the Oscars? Our directors, our actors. I mean, we are brilliant at so many things. We're a global power. We've got the best combination of hard and soft power in the world by far. So we need to say that. And I agree with you 100%. By the way, I had a little role to play in rolling over the Canada-UK trade deal, because just, the Canadian Prime Minister said it's not going to happen. Britain's not going to be able to do it. I spoke to the ambassador. She said, this is what it said, it was in the FT. And within a few days, I managed to ask a question in Parliament as well, serendipity. And we worked to the CBI, and it's there. And now we can build on it with a really good, bespoke, super duper UK-Canada deal next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Howard, can you top that?
No. Nobody can follow that. Actually, it reminds me of a speech. It's just the thing that David Cameron said when Putin called us a small little island off the edge of Europe, and how wrong he was and how right Karan and Cameron are. So much going for us. We have the English language, which is now the premier, not just business language, but world language. We have, most importantly, the rule of law. And we have English law is used in contracts everywhere in the world. It is valued and appreciated. The English sense of fair play are a diaspora of, I say English, but English and Scottish and Northern Irish and Welsh people around the world, engineers, professionals, everywhere you go. And the Global Britain campaign that was run a little while ago.
Okay, I think we've lost Howard for a second. Shall we go over to Annette? Let's go over to Annette. Sheetal, thank you very much for the question. And I think you got strong responses from both Howard. Howard, are you still there? We lost you for a second.
I am. I'm so sorry. But why do people value and appreciate British brands? Because it stands for quality. It stands for reliability. It stands for fairness. It stands for longevity. It stands for inclusiveness. All these things we are famous for, and we should not be frightened about capitalizing on them and telling the rest of the world how successful.
Thank you, Lord Leigh. Lord Leigh, I'm going to move over to Annette White. Annette, hi, nice to see you.
Hi, good evening, and thanks very much for putting this webinar on. It's absolutely fantastic, and all for supporting small businesses. As a small business owner myself, and I consult for many small businesses and entrepreneurs that have just started. And one of my questions, as I think Howard, you'd already mentioned earlier on about the small businesses directors that have had no support for the last 7 or 8 months. What can the government do for them, for the forgotten limited, for the excluded limited? It's really, really tough out there for them. They just don't know where to turn. They don't know, most things are just not applicable to them. They don't meet the criteria. So where can they go? What are the government doing potentially to help those forgotten directors? It is really tough out there.
Okay. Lord Leigh, did you hear the question?
Yes, yeah. Look, it is terrible, and I've got some personal empathy. My sister-in-law is in exactly your position, all I can say is that finally government have recognized it and understand the problem. As I said earlier, I think their biggest worry is the potential for fraud for people in dormant companies or starting new companies, and but they are definitely focused on trying to address this issue. And again, push whenever you get chance, push your MP,
Yeah.
push or anyone you come into contact. And I very much hope that's also something which E2E and CBI will join me in taking. I think it will change. I hope and pray it does.
I totally endorse that, and I completely empathize and sympathize. There are 3 million people excluded, and includes also artists and people, you know, dancers and actors and actresses, and you know they're suffering so much, and many of them got no help, they've got zero help, and we've been bringing this before, and we'll continue to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Now, I would just like to support what Lord Leigh said and Lord Bilimoria, that actually by campaigning, by writing in, and also working with, talking to the Business Action Council, there are ways that government is listening. And before this COVID period, I didn't know so much that we could actually influence government the way we can. And through writing and campaigning, it does work. They do listen. So I think I would encourage you to do what Lord Leigh has said and what Lord Bilimoria is saying.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annette. I'm going to move over. I think this is Jayesh. Hi, Jayesh. You're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, Shalini. How are you doing? You all right?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for setting this up. Really appreciate this. Hi,
sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me? And then Dinesh, I'll come straight up to you after that. Yeah. Go for it.
I'm just going to dive in because I think we're sort of tight with time, right? So you're going to dive in straight with the question, if that's okay. Basically, my question was, I think Howard covered this briefly, but I kind of got in a little bit late because running late. But he covered the part about bringing in sort of experts into your venture. And I'm not new to this. I've actually started one venture, sort of took it, see where I did, but then obviously sort of had bad luck, and I guess it kind of all went down. I started again, and then COVID hit, and I was doing very well. Now I'm looking to start my third venture actually, and I want to start all over again. My question was, is how do you structure or bring, expertise in? I think Howard covered this, where, you can pay consultants or you bring an experienced person in. But what I'm looking at is, how do you bring someone in what sort of structure, and what would a structure look like when you try and bring someone experienced in to maybe accelerate your growth in a nutshell? So any advice, whether that's equity structure, I don't know. I've never done this before in that structure, so keen to hear your thoughts, basically. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I would say there are two types. There's either somebody who puts money into your business, and for that they would want an equity stake for sure, or there's someone who's prepared, who doesn't want to put money in your business, but looks for an hourly salary, and frankly, they should not be entitled to much, if any, equity, maybe options. So you split it between the two. So choose very, very carefully. But the ideal thing, I would say, is to have a partner who invests in you and you work together. It's very important to have a partnership agreement in such circumstances. Back of the envelope just won't work because there will be stresses and difficulties, and you need to be clear. And often, to be honest, if you did have a partner like that, a lot of people like to have a third person in the business who doesn't have equity and, shall we say, finds ways of smoothing disagreements over. So if you can find such a little group like that, that will help your business grow.
Cool, thank you.
Lord Bilimoria, do you want to add anything onto that, or Jayesh, shall we go on to the next question?
Lord Leigh's answered it perfectly. All the best to you, Jayesh. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
And over to Dinesh, the Mejar. He's been a huge supporter of E2E for a very long time as well, and founded eBookers, a pioneer entrepreneur. So Dinesh, great to have you on, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Shalini. Hi, Howard, and hi, Karan. It's so good to hear you both. I mean, you are Howard, you talked about, well, all the 5 points you made were just terrific. I agree with them wholeheartedly. And Karan, you need an Oscar for energy. And we need a lot of energy these days. And we also, you get an Oscar for the command of statistics. And I'm a figures man, so there you are. I think totally cool. We're going to see some unemployment coming up. I hope it doesn't, but it will. And we're looking at, in my calculation, I hope I'm wrong, it's 20% in the next 3 years. And the only way to suck the unemployed back into employment is to, by the way, thank you, Howard, for the plug on Innovate UK. I'm an advisory board member of Innovate. But the only way to get these guys back into employment, or girls as well, is to fund businesses that can grow really fast. And there are quite a few businesses, but I would suggest that most businesses will become tech businesses, and tech businesses are the ones, like eBookers, I grew from 0 to 2,000 people in 3 years. Now, okay, that's a small amount of people, but we want businesses that are small to take 5, 10, 20, 50 people. So that was one point. The other point that Howard, Lord Leigh raised was trade deals. For every £50,000 we export, we create 1 job. And we have the greatest opportunity now to do trade deals with the world, unencumbered by anyone else. So for example, I think we do about, Karan, you know the figures, 25 billion with India, and perhaps it's half and half in the way trade goes. If we can reduce our tariffs to 0 or near 0, we'll get to 50 billion, which means that we can create that many jobs. 25 billion divided by 50,000. It's huge. Now you can do that with many other countries. We've got tariffs for, I don't know for what. So I think that's quite important. And by and large, I think the government's doing a good job because no one knows the future, and this was never done before. The COVID never came before, so we don't know what's going to happen. And whatever happens, they're trying to do the best job they can. So thank you very much for listening.
Bilimoria, do you want to make any comments?
Very quick, we're running out of time. Dinesh, everything you said makes absolute sense. And the potential for tech. I mean, you're one of the pioneers in this, and we're now seen as a really great country for tech entrepreneurship, not just in places like Cambridge, but London itself and spreading around the country. So potential is enormous. And when it comes to trade deals, let's put the figures into perspective. Number 1 trading partner we have as a country is America, 15%. Number 2 as a single country is Germany, 9%. Number 3 is Holland, the Netherlands, at 7%. The whole of the Commonwealth, 54 countries, including India, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and all the Caribbean countries, makes up less than 10% of our trade. So, right. I mean, come on, a country like India to do just 24 billion, we should be doing much more. And we can, there's so much potential. Let's go for it. But the EU is still 45% of our trade, so we mustn't forget that either.
Thank you. Dinesh, thank you very much. Chris, if you ask a quick question, I'm sorry we're running out of time. And then we have Demasha Kemka, my mum, so we have to ask her a question. Otherwise, I will be in trouble. And then I'm just going to quickly share the poll results. So Chris, lovely to see you.
Hi. So my question really is, for the last 12 years, I've been working with business owners on leadership and strategy, and something like 600,000 people a year start a business, but everybody knows that 80% never get to the next level, if you look at the data on ONS. And back in 2009, at the sort of just after the financial crash, the government invested something like £250 million in a program called Growth Accelerator, which was designed to put the expertise that you were talking about, Howard, in front of business owners, SME business owners, in order to help them grow. And I wonder whether you think there's any scope or appetite for the government to kick off a similar program for where we are right now? Because the return on investment was 6 to 1. For every pound spent, it generated 6 times immeasurable growth.
Sorry, Chris, what's the question?
Well, do you think there's any appetite for the government to perhaps invest in a similar kind of program now?
Well, there are many more programs than you realize. I was having a look at the gov.uk site this afternoon. There are quite a lot of programs, especially the LEP programs, of which I think there's 38 around the country. But to be fair, the point you make is right, which is that the Cameron government was incredibly pro-entrepreneurial, incredibly pro-SMEs. And that sort of zing has slightly gone out of government and needs to come back. So first, look around for the startup help you can get from BGF and startup and BBB and so on. There's more than you think. But secondly, yes, government can do more and should do more.
And I believe that Stephen Welton, head of BGF, he's also participating on our call today. So I'm glad that you've mentioned BGF, Lord Leigh. Chris, I'm going to move over, please, to Dame Asha Kemker, who is, I'm her daughter, and so a very proud daughter of my mum. Mummy, what's your question? You need to unmute.
Shalini, thank you. Before I start the question, Karan, Howard, what an amazing, inspirational session we have just witnessed. The amount of energy and the real benefits to where we are and how this country can move forward. What you have given today, it's just unbelievable. So my question, I have no question, but a suggestion. And the suggestion is, you know, the Chancellor's Levelling Up Fund, that should be used to clone people in this country, especially young people, so they become entrepreneurs like you do. I have seen your energy in situ, in operation, and what you have just said today. This country should be proud of where we are, what we do, and only positive things can happen. I think we do need to inspire our young generation. We do need to have a program where people feel that there is positivity in their journey and some kind of investment through this leveling of funds, region by region, encouraging that. If that can happen, that will go towards reducing unemployment and skilling and reskilling people, which is badly needed in this country. Thank you both. And thank you, Shalini. She's an amazing daughter. I'm very proud.
All right, Mummy, let's move on. Thank you.
I have to respond to that. And Dame Asha, thank you for your kind words. And you are an inspiration to us. What you did as a leader in the further education field in the whole of this country, you were the #1 leader in further education. What you did for young people, apprentices, I've seen it in action, and it's phenomenal. So thank you for what you've done, and also in ethnic minority participation in the movement you started, and it inspired me. We've got the Change the Race ratio, we started the CBI. So thanks for all your support always. And my regards to your husband and Shalini's father, to Shankar. Say hello to Shankar as well.
I will. Thank you. Thank you.
Lord Leigh, thank you, Lord Bilimoria. Thank you. Lord Leigh, do you want to add anything? I know we're running out of time. I think he's not had the best connection today. Well, I'm going to finish off today, second exactly what my mother has just said. What we really do need to do is clone Lord Leigh and Lord Bilimoria in this country. You've done my closing for me, Mummy. So thank you very much, because that is exactly what we need to do in the UK, is bring up our youth to be entrepreneurial and follow in the footsteps of these two amazing gentlemen. It's been a massive privilege to have both of you, Lord Leigh, Lord Bilimoria. Thank you for taking the time. It's a massive honour, and I know that Lord Bilimoria, you're going to be at ITN Studios next week, but we have you back on for our final House of Lords breakfast with you this year. on the 1st of December. So that's with yourself and with the founder of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that's on the 1st. We have another event on the 3rd of December with Tom Teichman. He is one of the most successful startup investors in the UK. That's on the 3rd of December. And if we could do a round of applause, if that was possible, that's what we would be doing right now for both of you. And my mum's doing it. And I'm going to share the poll results really fast. So could we share, Stephen, the poll results? So I'm interested in E2E because, well, the number one is the events. Let's go on to the second question, which is, which of the following services listed below would you need the most of? Meeting like-minded people. We will keep doing this to encourage more online meetings, and we're doing small forums and mentoring sessions. 3, which of the following services would you benefit from? It looks like real-time private market data and SME data intelligence, so the winners there. Then question 4, what's your key challenge in terms of digital marketing? They don't have enough budget, so we need to look at that. 6, are you interested in practical and structured digital marketing training? It's kind of equal between the 3. Number 6 is, would you benefit from discounted access to virtual offices? And 41% say yes, and 59% say no. Are you interested in the discounted membership to the CBE? 52% yay in favour, and 48% say no. So we have a majority there. When do you think you'll be able to attend an event physically? So the majority is saying later than Q1 next year. Are you prepared for Brexit? Now this is really positive. 63% are saying they are prepared for Brexit. And are you prepared for a possible no-deal Brexit? 57% of us have said, and there's I think 200 and something people registered on this event today. So 57% said yes. Getting prepared for a possible no-deal Brexit. So everybody, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. I know I have. I've learned a huge amount. And thank you to you all. I hope you're going to join us again next week and talk to us in the meantime. We do a lot more than events. So enjoy the evening. Lord Leigh, thank you so much. I hope you heard my massive vote of thanks. My mum said that we need to clone you and Lord Leigh. And Lord Bilimoria, so that's exactly what the future of the UK needs to look like.
Frightening, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Howard. Thanks, Sasha. Thank you, Shalini.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Well done, Shalini. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Howard. Thank you.
Very much.